YouTube, this is TCG Outcast, and in the premiere video of this brand new channel I am bringing to you the Leonzard or Charizard theme deck for the Vivid Voltage Pokemon TCG series. So if you're new to the Pokemon TCG series, this is definitely a great kind of starter point theme deck that you might want to try and build on. A lot of cool combos that you can use in here, and it's a great place if you're maybe looking to go into some kind of tournaments, if you want to go and progress in them, or if you just want to play with some friends. It's a great deck to use for that as well. I will preface the video by saying it is not the most top tier deck when you compare it with what is the current meta, but it's definitely a great place to start if you're kind of new to the Pokemon series and you're looking to get involved in some tournaments. Now that the introductions are out of the way, let's get into this deck build. I hope you all enjoy the video, and if you do, a like would be very much appreciated. Make sure as well, if you are new around here, that you hit that subscribe button with post notifications on so that you never miss any of my weekly content. The plan for the channel is that we are going to be uploading one video per week, and they are hopefully going to be a combination of deck profiles like this video today, and hopefully box openings as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that, and without further ado, let's get into this. And up first, it is going to be none other than the main man himself, Charizard. So if you want to run this deck in the most optimal way, then I would highly recommend playing 4. Do not play any less than that, because we want to be making sure that we are utilising the ability Battle Sense as much as possible, so that we can then get our trainer Leon card into the trash pile, and then that is in turn going to help boost our Charizard's attack points, and we can pretty much just steamroll over our opponents and help us win the duel, help us win the game even quicker. Moving on from Charizard, we are of course going to be talking about none other than Charmeleon. I would not recommend playing any more than 2 Charmeleon. I tried it before with 3 and sometimes 4, and the deck itself, it felt too bricky. There was a lot of the times where I drew just too many evolution cards and I had no use for them, so I would not recommend playing any more than 2. 2 is definitely enough for this deck. Up next is the little guy, everybody's favourite little guy, Charmander. Now Charmander, the great thing about Charmander, you only need 1 energy and you can draw 1 card for his collectability, so it's definitely another good card to have. Up next we are playing triple copies of Jirachi. Most of the other Pokemon that we have within this deck, they will usually have similar kind of abilities to Charizard, where we can pretty much just kind of mill through the deck, draw out cards, discard cards, so that we can try and get Leon in the trash pile, or so that we can just kind of draw the cards that we need so that we can get our Charizard on the field and maximise his efficiency. Moving on from Jirachi, we do have 3 other ones to talk about. We have a Dedenne GX, we have an Oranguru, and lastly we have Oricorio GX. So again, like I said, all of the Pokemon within this deck, they run in a very similar fashion, where they allow you to kind of draw your cards, mill through your deck, discard cards, so that you can then hopefully maximise the ability of Leon. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the Pokemon cards. Oh, and there goes Oranguru trying to escape. Come back here, thank you. Up first is of course the other main man of this deck, and that is going to be Leon. Now again, I would not recommend playing any less than 4 copies of this card. Whilst the ability of the card is quite good, and it allows you to obviously do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, the main reason we want 4 of this card in our deck is so that we can obviously discard it to our discard pile, trash pile, whatever it is that you guys like to call it, and then we can obviously boost the attack points of our Charizard by doing so. So whilst the card is good to have in play, it's much better if we actually have it in the trash pile. Moving on from Leon, we are of course going to be playing 2 Boss's Orders. Boss's Orders is such a good card within the Pokemon TCG. Whether you are running a meta deck, whether you're going to be in tournaments, or even just playing with your friends, this card is such a good card. I would highly recommend playing it in any kind of deck that you are running. Moving on from Boss's Orders, the next supporter is again going to be pretty self-explanatory. It's such a good card, and we are running triple copy of Professor's Research. Again, a really good card. Pretty much everybody that is playing the Pokemon TCG is going to be running a few copies of this. Obviously you have to discard your entire hand, but the fact that you get to draw 7 cards it's always a plus. And don't forget as well, the main premise, the main purpose of this deck is that we want to be discarding some of our cards. So if you have Leon in your hand, great way to try and get rid of it. And then obviously in turn, like I keep saying to you guys, it allows us to kind of boost and maximise the efficiency of our Charizard so we can just steamroll over our opponent. Last but simply not least, we are going to be running triple copy as well of Welder. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can play this. Some people like to run 2 of Welder and 3 of Boss's Orders. Unfortunately, I don't have a triple copy of Boss's Orders, so right now I'm running 3 of Welder. It seems to work okay for the moment. I've not had too many problems with it, but again, this is a great way just to kind of attach free energy to your Charizard if you have it on the field, and quite easily allow it to then use its attack. And the plus side is that you get to draw 3 cards as well. So again, another great way to kind of mill through your deck and then maximise your Charizard's abilities. I would also preface that we are going to be using 9 fire energy. I don't have to go into too much detail about it. Literally 9 fire energy will do you fine. You don't need to run any more than that, and I wouldn't recommend putting any other energy cards in there for any of your other cards like Jirachi or Oranguru or anything like that. The main purpose of those cards is just to use their abilities so that we can kind of mill through the deck. Up first, we are running triple copy of Ordinary Rod. Fairly self-explanatory. Moving on from Ordinary Rod, we are of course going to be running Evolution Incense. This card as well allows you to search your deck for an evolution Pokemon, reveal it and put it in your hand, and then you get to shuffle your deck. So this is a great way. Obviously the fact that we're only running 2 Charmeleon, it's a good way to kind of draw Charmeleon out to make sure that we have it. We're probably going to be a lot more likely to draw more of Charizard than Charmeleon, so this is a good way to utilise that without having to obviously brick up in our hands by having 4 Charmeleon. Up next, which pairs quite nicely with that as well, we are going to be running 2 Rare Candy, which this also helps to make up for the fact that we're only running 2 Charmeleon. The great thing about this card is that you can obviously just skip the evolution phase of Charmeleon. So if you have a Charmander on your active position or on your bench and you have a Charizard in your hand, activate Rare Candy and then boom, you have Charizard. Next, we are running triple copy of Pokemon Communication. Again, I mean, when it comes to this deck, most of the cards, most of the trainer cards, the item cards, they're pretty self-explanatory. This card, you get to reveal a Pokemon from your hand and put it into your deck, and if you do, you search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So it's a good way to kind of swap out Pokemon. So if you have like an Oranguru, if you have a Jirachi, any of those other cards, and you want to try and get Charmander, Charizard, anything, it's a good way to kind of swap out your Pokemon and make sure that you're getting the ones that you need. Off the back of that, we do also have triple copy of Switch, which is a good way for us to kind of switch between Pokemon. The great thing about this is that we can quite easily, I've done it plenty of times before in other Pokemon battles, playing against friends, you can quite easily use this card to switch between your active Charizard. If you have one on the field and you have one on your bench, you can just use Battle Sense for your active Charizard, use Switch, swap them over, and then you get to use the Battle Sense for your other Charizard, and then boom, before you know it, you can have like 2, sometimes 3 Leons within your scrap pile, and it means that way, again, you're utilising the ability as much as possible. Next, I'm going to be playing 4 copies of Quick Ball. I think most people are usually playing triple copies of this, but there are a couple of other cards in here that unfortunately I've not been able to get more copies of, so right now 4 copies of Quick Ball seems to be the optimal play for me, but obviously it depends on what your play style is, depends on what you feel most comfortable with. Next, we are going to be using 2 copies of Scoop Up Net. Scoop Up Net allows you to put one of your Pokemon that isn't a V or a Pokemon GX into your hand, and then you discard all attached cards. Again, it is a good way to kind of get rid of the Pokemon if you're maybe bricking up a little bit, if you want to try and clear your field a little bit, it's a good way to do that. Lastly, triple copy of Great Ball, and I'd said lastly, but I actually told a lie. Lastly, but simply not least, we also have a Pal Pad. So, Great Ball, I would much prefer to be running 4 copies of this. but unfortunately I don't have it, which is why I'm actually running 4 of Quick Ball. Palpad as well, I would probably prefer to be running 2 copies of that, maybe even 3, which is why obviously I have a couple of extra duplicates of other cards in there as well. So that is going to about do it for this week's video. I'd just like to wrap up by saying thank you very much for stopping by. Like I said, this is the very first video, this is a premiere video for the channel. I had originally planned on doing a Champions Path opening, so hopefully we'll get around to doing that at some point. Unfortunately, when I was recording that video, the audio was corrupted, so this is why I'm now doing this Charizard video instead. But make sure you stay tuned for that, make sure you hit that subscribe button, post notification bell on, make sure you hit that like button as well if you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you all in the next one.